Hey everyone, thanks for joining me here at Power Mods. Today's all about traction. Studs. Look at this little tiny thing. I don't even know if you guys can see it. It's so small, but it works. Carbide stud from iGRiPstud.com. We're going to install them on this little Elan here that I have. Well, actually, it's kind of a beastly Elan. It's got a long track, a 139-inch track on it, 277 upgraded motor, of course, Power Mod special, as they say. But one thing I find with these older sleds is that you don't get the traction that you need when you need it. You know, if you're out on the lake, a little bit of slush, slipping around a little bit, just a little bit of traction is all you need. And these little guys are going to do the trick. Now these come in all different shapes and sizes. I'm going to be installing these on my wheel loader, so they're massive, massive things with carbide in them as well, of course. And you can get these for just about anything, any kind of snowmobile, anything with a track on it, anything with a tire on it, you name it, they got a stud for it. Many different lengths, sizes, pretty cool. Very easy to install. I'm going to install them on this. It's going to take about 140 studs, somewhere in there, I think, is what we're going to put on it. I don't want to overstud it. I still want to be able to steer it. I still want to be able to have fun with it. But sometimes if you overstud a machine, it just wants to go straight. Unless you put heavy duty carbides on the front, I don't want to do that. I still want to have traction, but I still want it to be controllable. Make sense? It's going to stop better. It's going to accelerate better. It's going to work better on the ice. I think it's all bonuses, right? Sometimes with these machines, when we're playing in the bush, we're climbing up hills, we get kind of euchred because we get into either ice on the hills or we get on a log and that rubber track just slips on the log. So these are going to make a big difference, I know it. And when you're studying a sled, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. We're not going to get too technical about how we're going to do this. It's just going to be a two-on-one, one on the other lug kind of a thing. But there are various patterns that you sort of want to adhere to if you're using these on a higher horsepower sled, because you want to make sure that everything's sort of balanced right and that you optimize these studs and how they're going to work for you. Let's get them installed and let's take it for a rip. I want to see how these things work. And I just sort of plant it in there. You don't want to overturn it because it's obviously going to tear out the thread. But these are not kind of normal screws. Some people say, oh, just put screws in. It's a little different. Whoopsie, I need to go on the outside of those. I don't know what you call this screw kind of thread pattern. It'd be a cup screw, I don't know. I don't even know. Kind of blew that one. You know, there'd be a lot more room on newer tracks, that's for sure. These older tracks, boy oh boy, there's not much lug on this thing. And I can tell when I'm riding it because I can feel it just slipping all over the place. But it is what it is. That track is off a a bogey suspensioned Alpine. And I'm just sort of staggering these. If you were doing this on a newer sled, you'd use a pattern, a stud pattern. You just wouldn't randomly screw these in all over the place. Unless it's you still wouldn't do it. Unless it's like a pre-drilled track, or sometimes tracks have a little landing on them where you see where you can put your studs in. Your screw-in studs. You kind of want to get these flush with the rubber. That's kind of why I'm giving that little push in there. That's pretty easy stuff. This Elan's going to be, oh my God, it's going to be ridiculous. No problem. I used to have a lot of fun on this one. Then I sold it. And then the guy called me up and he said, hey, do you want to buy your Elan back? I'm like, yes. One of the best Elans I've ever made. Out of maybe 30. But this is the answer to a lot of older sleds, that's for sure. And newer sleds too. Think of how much weight you're shedding by not using those big giant studs and backers, right? Lots of weight shedded. One thing you'll want to also look out for is if your sled has tunnel coolers in it. If it's got tunnel coolers, you want to make sure you have a protector. Not that these really stick out very far, but you don't want these chewing at your cooler, right? No matter what stud you put in, you want to make sure that it's not going to come in contact with it. With a high horsepower kind of sled, that you do this in the right pattern or you'll throw off the balance of the track. You don't want that to happen. This is more forgiving because she's a cool old Elan. And they just forgive. They're happy. Oh, that's sharp stuff, man. These little studs are sharp.
Look at that. Run the track out too, right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we'll get the back down there. Let's do it more. It's just all my feet, my whole boot's filled with water. Yeah? Yeah. It's going to be cold for a while, but yeah. It's all good. We gotta get you back over there. This is going to sound pretty lame, but I would not have made it through there, even that little stuff. I might have made it with the Elans, but this one's almost got no lugs on it, but I put those iGRiP studs on. And I think that just saved my butt right there. I hate this slush.
That's it. You guys have seen how this works. I gotta thank you for joining me here at Power Mods. Make sure you give iGRIPstuds.com a call for your cool stud needs. That's pretty neat. No drilling holes, no backers, no nuts and bolts. Bogies. Everything's going back to bogies, boys. Computers are on their way out. So are slider suspensions. Everything's going to be bogies again. Bogies and toe stroke.